Dr. Nae, welcome to Conscious Conversations. Thank you so much for being here. For anyone who doesn't know Dr. Nae, she was the real life inspiration for the character Naomi, played by Margot Robbie in The Wolf of Wall Street. But more importantly, now she is an incredible psychotherapist, a trauma bond expert, speaker, and the author of Run Like Hell, which I just read this week. So really excited to dive in with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for reading the book. It was quite a journey to write it.
For sure. And I mean, there's like so many reasons I was excited to have you on. You're Italian and from New York. And my dad grew up in Brooklyn. He's from Sheepshead Bay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, have you gone to Rolling Roaster?
Yes.
It's the best.
Randazzo's is his spot. Something about Italians from New York and New Jersey. We just get it.
That's right. We do.
And I mean, okay, obviously your story is wild. I love a pain to purpose story. I've watched a lot of your interviews about the movie, and I definitely want to get into that, but I really want to focus on your story, like what it felt like for you to go through that. And then the turning point, and obviously all the healing that followed that led you to the amazing work that you're doing now to help women understand these trauma bonds and really break free and rebuild their life.
Yeah. So, my story, as they say, is one for the movies, right? Because it was literally made into a movie. But I grew up in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, hence where my ex came up with the name, the Duchess of Bay Ridge. And I was raised by a single mother in Bay Ridge. And it was really an amazing, charmed childhood. My mother was very into psychology. She was reading Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud in the 70s, and she was a true feminist. And my life was charmed, really, honestly, just, before the internet, playing on the streets till it got dark, and then coming inside. And then as the movie depicts, and then I was modeling in New York City. Because
I read that.
You need money. Right. So I was modeling. I did a lot of commercials, national commercials for Wrigley's Gum and Mountain Dew. And I can't even remember all the rest of them, honestly, at this point. It was so long ago. But I was bopping around the city. And as the movie depicts, I went to Jordan's house.
Mm-hmm.
He was having a party in the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know him at the time. I went with my boyfriend. And they, I walk into this party and they're all acting weird. And I didn't know they were all on Quaaludes, because I didn't know what Quaalude was even really.
Yeah.
And somebody did expose themselves to me.
I saw that you said that really happened.
That really happened. And it's an important point because I felt so much shame when that happened.
Yeah.
Not that I did anything and these guys were all wasted out of their minds and this one guy exposed himself to me.
Yeah.
Then I said, boyfriend, we have to leave. And I think it's important to illuminate because that honestly was a foreshadowing of what I was about to endure. I was about to be objectified, about to be exploited, about to be used.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that, but now in retrospect, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. So before the movie, was Jordan writing the book? When Jordan was writing the book, did he tell you and were you like, okay, cool, I'm sure the book will like not amount to anything? Or did you like deep down know it would be a splash that would turn into the movie?
Oh, I had no idea. I mean, I should have known. I should have known knowing him, but he wrote the book in jail. And so, you have to remember, I left him at 31, just with my kids and my curtains. I took nothing because it was all blood money. And I started over. And I was with my current husband at the time. And so I was living my life in California, in school, I think getting my master's at that point, I'm pretty sure. And it was before I got my master's. And he said that he wrote this book in jail. I was like, all right. And then he sent it to me. And I read the first 10 pages and went nuts.
I was going to ask you, what was your first reaction? Was it like terror? Yeah. Was it like...
Oh, no, my first reaction was anger.
Anger.
Because I was like, how dare you? First of all, half of the shit he wrote in the beginning wasn't true. I never threw water in his face. We never had a fight about a hooker named Venice.
I saw you said that.
What are you talking about? And I just called him up. I screamed at him. He was like, I'm doing it for us. I was like, no, I live in a house without a mortgage. Like, stop selling me like you're doing it for us. You're
Yeah.
doing it for you. And so I had what I call my Mad Lucia moment where I
Yeah.
just like, oh my God, I can't, believe this is happening. And
Yeah.
then my husband tapped me and he's like, time to get up.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
this is this is happening. And that's usually what my process is. I feel my feelings, I get
Yeah.
my control, and then I went on, right? Because I had my
Yeah.
own life, I had my kids. But the
Right.
crazy part was that I thought that I had like left all that behind,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and here it comes haunting me.
Totally. I can only imagine like how you felt living every detail of what actually happened back again. Was there any part of you that felt almost like validated by the fact that it became a movie because of being like, okay, that really was that crazy that it's going to be now a movie?
You know, I don't think there was. I mean, in retrospect, it's like, oh, okay, it really was that crazy. And of course, the validation is there.
Right.
But I don't think so. I just think, again, you can never anticipate what's really going to happen. And you have to remember, like, here I am starting my career as a therapist.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, are you kidding me? I went to school for 7 years to get my
Yeah.
doctorate and master's. And I was like, all of this is going to be exposed.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to come to me for therapy?
I heard that you said that, but I was like,
But
everyone.
nobody did. So, but at first I was just, and you have to remember that it was kind of a reenactment of our relationship where he
Right.
had all the control and the power again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because it wasn't my story. It wasn't my narrative. I didn't get paid for it. But luckily I've been in therapy for over 20 years. I was becoming a therapist. I was feeling confident because of all that I had accomplished. So it
Yeah.
certainly didn't destroy me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, but
Yeah.
I'm used to it being all about Jordan. You have to remember that.
Right. Totally. And so that makes a lot of sense, right? You're like, you're used to him kind of being the star
Yeah.
of the show, so you weren't surprised. But okay, so
Yeah.
you felt at that point you're like, okay, all of my stuff is gonna be relived. Maybe that would affect my therapy career.
I was very concerned about my children,
Right.
right? Because they were teenagers then. And they were really my main concern at that point. My son was a junior when it came out. I think my daughter was in her freshman year in college.
Yeah.
Those were very tenuous times. But they honestly, luckily, I had told them all along. I left your dad. He was a drug addict. He was abusive. This was
Right.
no surprise to them.
Right.
So I was really concerned with them, and they were fine with it.
They were. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, how did you protect them from, I can imagine as a mother, obviously, like that's priority
Yeah.
A. But so yeah, so you basically the way you protected them was really just like sharing everything
Yeah.
prior.
We had
Just
processed it so much
yeah,
already. So they were really prepared and ready.
right. I saw that you said, a lot of it was accurate, a lot of it wasn't. The timelines were kind of off, the characters a little
Yeah.
muddled. But was there anything that you felt like one scene in particular that was like really hard to watch?
Oh, sure. The scene, the scene, first of all, where I get punched, which is not accurate. And then the scene where he drives my daughter into the wall, right? I mean, that was incredibly challenging to
Yeah.
watch. And she's great now. She's a
Yeah.
therapist, has two babies.
She's a therapist?
She's a therapist.
That's
But
amazing.
no, those scenes, the violent scenes towards myself and my children were hard to watch.
Yeah, I imagine also maybe like the producer, was it Martin Scorsese or no?
Yeah, he's the director. Yeah.
The director, I'm maybe he took some liberties too and like kind of made it more movie like versus him writing the scenes incorrect, or maybe a little bit of both.
They like you said, they did change the chronology
Right.
of the way things went down. But the sheer madness of my ex with the drugs and the excess was very accurate. The scene where he does get violent with me, I'm pretty pissed off about because in that scene, I say to him, I'm taking the children from you. And And first of all, I've never said that to him. And so then he hits me. And it almost seems like through a patriarchal lens,
Mm.
because they still want everybody to like the character, that they kind of put those things together, not to excuse him, but to be like, oh, I could see that, that's not what happened. He finally got physically violent with me after I told him I was leaving him because he was a drug addict, because I didn't want to sit there and watch him kill himself. So those are two very different reasons
Mm-hmm.
for one to get violent.
Yeah.
So, but I understand why they did it, but
Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I like that you also took the liberty to say, like, I mean, if I don't have input in it, then you can't use my name, like you're going to have to use, yeah, that was smart.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
didn't matter in the
Yeah.
end because everything was me, but it was kind of just like an ethical stance that I took. I was like, I make no money, and it's not my
Yeah.
perspective. You can't use my name. And then they called me, Martin Scorsese's office. I think that, they were afraid, like, if she's not letting us use her name, is she going to be cooperative? And I just
Right.
said, listen, I have my life. I really care about my kids. I have my own life that's gone on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sue you. But just remember, I'm a mother.
Yeah, absolutely. And, people really glamorize the movie.
Yes.
And if someone watches The Wolf of Wall Street today and thinks like goals, oh my God, like what would you want them to know?
I would say that money does not buy you happiness. It can buy you some false sense of security, I think. But money without values and morals and ethics is nothing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it's nice to want nice things and have ambition and have drive and work hard. Great. But if it's not attached to morals, values, and ethics, then you might as well throw it out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jordan, like shifting out of the movie, right? So Jordan goes to jail and you're finally able to leave, right? And everything kind of, comes crashing down in terms of like everything that was going on and you finally felt safe to leave. What was
Yeah.
that chapter like? Because I read that you were a little self-sufficient with like a clothing brand or something to that nature. You could
Yes.
support yourself.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, throughout my whole marriage, I had worked on myself. I'd been in therapy. I went to cooking school. I took wine classes. I went to interior design school. I started my own company, a maternity company. So I was able to hold on to my sense of self, which was super important as much as I could within that insane dynamic. And by the time he got arrested, I was done because a year before was when he had kicked me down the stairs. And we had had that whole dramatic exchange after, even before all the years of abuse. And so once that he got arrested, the power imbalance shifted and I could leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could leave and I was so excited to leave, right? I was like, there's my window. I'm safe. Now he's the government's problem.
Yeah.
And then I kicked him out into my Southampton house. I was in my Brookville house and it was a very scary time.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
with the government, you're
Yeah.
dealing with giving up all of your assets.
And you were
Um,
young 30s, right? Or 30.
30
Yeah.
years old. Yeah, I
Right.
was like 30 years old. So it was
Yeah.
insane. And I was scared. I mean, there was a lot of very scary moments, but I knew that I needed to leave.
Yeah.
And I did. And I left. And then, like I said, luckily I did have that business. It was still a very insane time, but I did check myself into a clinic for a
Mhm.
week where I got a lot of psychological help so that would never fall for somebody like that again.
Yeah.
And then I got to restart my life.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so did you have any idea at that point that you would become a therapist or were you just like surviving day to day? Okay.
Thriving.
Yeah.
There was nothing thriving about that
Yeah.
time in my
Not sort of
life.
thriving yet.
No, I was just surviving, 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 surviving.
Yeah.
Honestly, in retrospect, I don't even know how I did it. Some days, but I was young. My name Nadine means hope. I'm an eternally hopeful person. And I had really great support. I had a good therapist, my mother, all my friends. So that I was really well resourced relationally.
Right.
And, um, and then I was like, bye bye. We're going to be a family with or without you. And
Yeah.
I'm going to save these children.
Yeah. And probably a nice break that he was away, right? He was in jail at that point and you
Well,
guys got to
he
like,
didn't get sentenced for 7 years because remember, he was cooperating.
right.
So then about 2 years or year and a half later, I met my current husband. He
Hmm.
lives in California. And he said to me, they're taking your house. Come live with me. Like, and luckily he was in the garment business. So
Hmm.
my business totally translated into his business.
Amazing.
And I was like, you know what? My kids need a new start. I need a new start. And we left.
That's amazing. And so, okay, so then you're working in the garment industry at
Yep,
that
I was in the
point
garment industry for years. Yeah.
for years, and then you're picking up the pieces from the family, kind of like holding down the fort, starting this new relationship. At what point did you decide to become a therapist?
Yeah, so I was in California and I was meditating a lot and working really hard. And the garment business has ageism. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't get old in this business, right? I don't want to be, even though I love fashion, but I don't want to be
Yeah.
trendy. And I just believed that that therapy had saved my life. I knew that therapy had saved my life.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? Therapy saved my life. I'm going to go back to school to be a therapist at 38.
I love that. Was it hard for you to like enter into this new healthier relationship? Like was there a whole process with you on that?
Yeah, because you have to remember, I had all my trust had been destroyed by Jordan. You know, I really thought that Jordan was going to protect me and be a good husband. And that just turned to be the total opposite.
Yeah.
So, but my current husband, who I've been with for 25 years, he listened to me when we had a fight. And I said, you know, I don't agree with you. He was like, oh, I understand.
Hmm.
I was like, what? Nothing. Nothing happening. Words match actions. He respected my boundaries. I mean, it hasn't been perfect all these years, but we've been willing to hear and listen and grow together. Very similar values. He had 3 children, I had 2, so we were like a modern Brady bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very magical time in my life to rebuild, find new love again. And then, like they say, when you're in a safe, secure relationship, is when you can really start to thrive.
So true.
And that's what happened because
Yeah.
I went to school. I love school. I'm a total nerd. And
Hmm.
I just knew this is what I'm meant to do.
I love that. So when you decided, okay, I'm going to become a therapist, and I
Yeah.
hear you on fashion. I worked in TV, and it was also like the ageism was also like a thing in your
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So when you started studying and you realized like, okay, I love this, I'm going to be a therapist. Were you sure at that point that you were going to specialize in trauma bonds and
No,
narcissistic? Oh,
no,
okay.
I didn't at all. This is the funny part. I did not want a specialty. I was like, I
Mm,
want everybody. I want to help couples, personality disorders, mood disorders. I did not want a specialty. It's so funny. I don't know why I was adamant about that. It should have been so obvious to me, but it wasn't.
yeah.
Um, it should have been obvious. But what happened was that all these smart, bright, beautiful women were coming into my office, experienced coercion, experienced betrayal, experiencing verbal and emotional abuse. And I was like, what the hell is happening? Are we in the 1950s?
I know.
And that's when I went back to the research and I wrote my book, Run Like Hell. And it's interesting because, you know, I went to school to be a licensed marriage and family therapist. I went to school for 7 years. I had one domestic violence class.
Wow.
This is how much the education fails the therapist.
Yeah.
Every single thing in my book, which is, you know, right there, was all my own research, was nothing I learned in school. I learned about trauma bonds, dark tetrad, coercive control, all of these terms that I had experienced that nobody explained to me. And I said, you know what? I need to write the book that I wish I had.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to dive into it. I really also believe we attract God, higher power, whatever the source is. We attract the people we're like uniquely designed to help. And it typically
Right.
is like who we were a few years ago. So that makes
Hmm.
sense how you started attracting those women. Did you ever feel like at any point it felt like maybe heavy or draining or daunting to build a career on, kind of what you had already went through, or was it really healing for you to do that?
It's so natural and so healing.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
because I get it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when you go to other therapists, what did you do to deserve that? Are you sure you didn't egg him on? No, maybe you're the one with the personality disorder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, victims are not believed
Yeah.
and they're not supported.
So
And they come to me and I'm like, oh no, I get it. Oh, he blames
true.
me for everything? Of course he does. Right.
Yeah, narcissism and addiction, obviously, I've lived it firsthand, and it's so hard for people to understand. And that was like a big reason, too. I wanted to have you on, just like as women who've lived it, we really understand. And, when we get into the book, I want to get into like that part that you wrote about why that happens to some women. And it's not just about codependence. I loved that you did that. But before that, I want to get into the conversations on trauma bond. I've dated someone who struggled with pretty serious addiction. I've seen narcissistic dynamics up close. I know what it's like to be in it and not realize till much later. So for people who are listening who aren't sure, what is a trauma bond and how can someone tell the difference between being in a trauma bond and just being like deeply in love?
As always, I only share products I personally use, love, and feel aligned with. And Araza Beauty is one I literally can't stop talking about. I use it every single day. It's a non-toxic, clean makeup brand, and my absolute favorite product is the Coconut Cream Foundation. It's buttery, creamy, smells like heaven. I am obsessed. So if you're looking to upgrade your makeup with something clean, conscious, and actually good for your skin, this is such a good one to try. Araza is giving my community 15% off with the code CONCIERGE. And if you purchase something using my link or code, I receive a small treat too. Their tagline is, "If looks could heal," and honestly, it's giving exactly that. Let me know if you try it and what you think. Back to the show.
Yeah, so a trauma bonds is a toxic dysfunctional relationship between two emotionally attached people. I write about it between lovers, but it can be between friends, a boss and an employee, even a parent and an adult child. And so, you're not going to have it with the barrister at Starbucks, right? You have to be emotionally attached. You have to be emotionally invested in this relationship. But what makes it so toxic is that one of the partners, the pathological predatory one, wants power and control over their lover. Now, they don't state this when you meet them, of course, but that's what makes it so toxic. And they use all different methods to do that: coercive control, betrayal, manipulation, gaslighting, Darvo, all of threatening, dominating, intimidating tactics to have power and control over their partner. And it has to have two conditions. You have to have a power imbalance. This pathological predator has the power. And then you have to have intermittent reinforcement, which is where 30% of the time they're kind, generous, and helpful, like Romeo. 70% of the time they're cruel, controlling, intimidating, dominating, betraying, like Dirty John. And so it's the mixture of those extreme cruelty and kindness that actually creates the bond. So they're not jerks all the time, or else we wouldn't fall in love.
No, my mom's ex-partner just like came in, swindled all of us. Like everything was like whimsical for me too. It was like, get in the
Yeah,
car, we're going on this trip and you're getting this ice cream. And I was like, he was like
yeah,
Aladdin. Yeah,
right,
totally.
right,
Totally.
right. And so,
Yeah.
and anybody and everyone can fall for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my ex that was an addict, it's very different. He was like a really sweet person that was going through it. And so I don't view it the same as what my mom went through. That was more similar to you, which was just like total swindling. I mean, the drug abuse, like just all of it. And they are so likable. But I love what you did in the book because you really, one of the things is you changed the narrative from if you are in the situation because you're codependent. I remember that was a little hard for me in Al Anon and Coda to digest because totally,
Mm.
like we were codependent, absolutely. But I love how I've never heard anyone do it. You really detailed why smart, capable,
Yeah.
intuitive women end up in these relationships over and over again. That was a really great part of the book.
Yeah, because I really wanted to break the stigma of the victim.
Yeah.
Always like, you're codependent, you have learned helplessness, you're a love addict, you have a bad picker. No, you just fell in love with a con artist, right? You fell in love with a predatory pathological person, and that can happen to anyone. And of course, they pick amazing women. We're great beards for their dysfunction,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Where they can hide behind our moral compass because they have no moral compass. They're entitled and they feel superior to be abusive and coercive and betraying towards everybody.
Yeah.
And so they pick usually wonderful people who are very empathetic and
Mm-hmm.
very intolerant and kind and pro-social and determined to make the relationship work. Just like I'm determined to get my PhD, I was just as determined to make that relationship work. Great to get a PhD, terrible to be in a trauma bond.
Totally. I remember calling into a podcast, Mike Sorrentino, the situation, and his wife had
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they had a podcast. Yeah. And now I have friends that are like best friends with them. And I was texting them the other day because I wanted to know how to be the best girlfriend I could be to someone dealing with drug addiction. Like I was determined to do it.
Right.
And yeah, so I really liked how you did that. I think it's so timely with like what's going on with Cassie and Diddy and Brittany. And like, it's just it was an important switch. I know my mom will appreciate that too, of like, you don't just have to be codependent. You can be an amazingly
You can
capable
be
human.
high function. Listen, I would cook dinners from scratch for 30 people, set the table like you've never seen, right? Be a great mother, be reasonable, try to help him with his drug addiction, but no matter what I did, it didn't matter because it was
Yeah.
never about me.
Yeah.
And and this is what drove me crazy about this enabling thing. Why the hell would I enable somebody to be abusive towards me?
I know.
It just doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
I was not responsible for his drug addiction or rages. I was not responsible for that. I can't control them. I can't control him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, when I left him and he was such an addict, so everybody's like, you're codependent. And that did help me a little bit at the time because I learned how
Yeah.
to say no and I learned how to set boundaries.
Totally.
But it made me run around trying to fix me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, nothing wrong with growth, but he
Yeah.
was the problem.
I will say the codependent thing helped in the beginning.
Right.
However, I do feel my mom said at some point, I hope that you leave the program because it's not like it's an amazing
It's so
program.
much more than that. It's so
There's
much more than that. It's so
totally,
much more than that. And again, I'm
totally,
not asking it because, it helped me. I went to Coda for a year, but it's just really not what this is about.
totally. Again, that's why I love that you did that. What would you say to someone who knows they're in a trauma bond but feels like they can't leave?
I would say that that's very common because what happens is with the love bombing and the grooming, and then the mask falls, and then you're into the manipulation and the betrayal and the coercive control. It's really a process of entrapment.
Yeah,
And you really, really do feel entrapped. But that doesn't mean you are, right? Because this person has mind control over you and they want you to feel like you're trapped with them, but you're not. And if you're listening to this, just the fact that you're listening to this means that part of you knows that you can escape and heal.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to dive into the book, right? So, Run Like Hell. I read it. It was amazing. It. I love, first of all, that you wrote a book, especially since your story was first told by someone else.
Yeah.
What I love about what you did was you didn't write a book that was like, here's my side of the Wolf of Wall Street story.
Right.
Like you literally turned your trauma into a tactical survival guide and you had these tips for how women can leave and where to turn. It was amazing. It was so resourceful. It was so well executed. And most importantly, it was just very classy
Thank
in
you.
the way you wrote it. So
Thank you. Yeah, it was hard to write. Listen, Everybody's like, when are you going to write another book? I'm like, never. You know, I'm the only idiot that like finished my book right before AI came out, right?
Oh
That
my
would
God.
probably, but that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to, you know, as you know, I take 4 trauma bonded couples, and all those stories are real, which is
Mm,
scary and sad.
yeah.
And that's why I warn people in the beginning of the book, like I give a trigger warning. But I really wanted to take 4 trauma bonded couples to illuminate all the clinical material because I wanted women to see themselves in these stories and take the shame away from them because there's so much shame when you're in a trauma bond. And so, you know, the beginning is about what a trauma bond is, who the pathological partner is, who the victim is. The middle is about the symptoms they get, why women leave, how to leave safely. And then the third part, which is the best part, is how to heal.
Yeah. I loved it. You know, it's been so long since I've been in those conversations because my mom and I have both healed. We're both in very healthy and loving relationships. But it
That's great.
really, thank you. Yeah, it really brought me back and made me remember like all of the crazy, you know, between what she lived, what I lived. And I just was so, yeah, glad to see it detailed for so many other people because I did forget what it was like living in that dysfunction.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, yeah. Okay, so how did Jordan react to you writing Run Like Hell?
Well, you know, what happened is that before I wrote Run Like Hell, I started to so one of my young patients, so I was already on Instagram since 2013, I think. One of my young patients says you have to go on TikTok a few years ago. I'm like, I'm 54. I'm not going on TikTok. I don't want to go on TikTok. He was like, you have to do it. So I went on TikTok and then I started to talk about the movie and it went viral.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. And how do you think he responded? Not well. Right. But here's the truth. Double standards are abusive. And he started to tell my kids, you can't talk to your mother anymore. Can you believe what your mother's doing to me? I have the best relationship with my kids. And I said, oh, is Jordan my victim now? Oh, interesting. I said, oh, he could make a book. He could write a book and make a movie. I can't make a 3 fucking minute TikTok. Sorry. That's not happening. I said, the train has left the station. I said, what am I going to do? How can I lead women if I'm going to, he thinks I'm going to kowtow to him again? I said, guys, I love you, but this is fair. And I'm
Yeah,
always going to be ethical. And they know, my children know me. So my daughter really stood up to him. And she said, Dad, you can't get me involved with this whole thing with mom. And she was pregnant. And she said, you need to calm down. And if you calm down, you know, I need to protect my baby now. If you calm down, we can have a relationship.
yeah,
Then he left me alone. And then I sent him the book and I said, here's the book. I want you to read it. And I said, you know, I'm going to go on a lot of podcasts because you're so famous now. Um, hopefully you'll be okay with it. And he's like, okay, best of luck to you. Now comes the fun part.
you're so famous now.
So then which is true. So now he's fine with it. And listen, I'm sure he doesn't love that I still post about him, but I'm really not posting about him. I'm posting about the movie,
Yeah,
right? I'm posting about, and this is the thing. When I wasn't going to give my name, he said to me, but Nadine, you have $100 million campaign to do with whatever you want. He planted the seed in my head. Okay.
yeah,
So I'm really exploiting the movie.
totally.
You
Yeah,
know, think about Jordan anymore. You know,
yeah,
well, whatever. He's the father of my children. They have a great relationship with him. He's, you know, we're grandparents together. He's great to them. I'm using the most misogynistic movie on the planet to help women everywhere. I mean, I couldn't have written it better if I tried.
no, literally. I mean, it's again, that's why I brought up like the way you did it, just pure class. Like it's like you told parts of the story that were relevant, but like you didn't go detail by detail, like and this scene and that scene. I mean, you could have totally taken that direction, and it showed your character by how you wrote it. And I think you it would be crazy not to have and not to be talking about it to help women because
Right. It would be crazy. And
it would be crazy.
especially since I have my education. And you know, and so then what happened is that I wrote the book And I've gotten so many beautiful messages from women all over the world. And then it wasn't enough. I really wanted to democratize what I do. So I started a whole online community.
I know. I have questions on that too. I think that's so smart.
That to me has been, we started in February. We have a few hundred women, and to go to therapy is very expensive. For
Yes.
$30 a month, for $30 a month, $1 a day,
It's amazing.
they get 4 support groups a week. I teach my book as a course. I bring in an expert every week. And it's the, I didn't really understand how amazing it was going to be.
Yeah.
But the women supporting women is everything.
It's everything. I have a community and it literally is so helpful to do the work together. And when I saw that you were doing that, I was like, if my mom would have had that
Right.
during
Right.
that time, like
Yes.
she was like, I can't wait to share this with friends that I know are in it so deep. I mean, I don't know anyone else doing this. And who better than you, where
No.
you so publicly lived it? And that's again why I think it's so amazing that you not only are doing this, but you have your education and you're an actual therapist.
Yes. Yes.
You're
Yes.
licensed.
I'm not just a survivor turned expert. No,
Right.
you go to school and 7 years later you come out with a different brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The one question I had though, in the book, I was surprised that you wrote that Jordan never made a proper amends. That really shocked me, especially as someone who's been
Yeah.
through Al-Anon, who's received proper. I think
Yeah.
it's the ninth step.
It's, yeah.
I was just surprised, it being such a public situation, that you didn't get that proper amends.
You know, I just didn't.
Yeah.
I just, when I told him after he'd gotten sober about 6 months in, I write about this when I said to him, it was really hard going through all your drug addiction and abuse. And he just looked at me, he goes, it wasn't that bad. And inside I was just like, you're dead to me now. That to me was worse almost than the abuse. Now I didn't know the word callousness back then. But when I can picture myself, I think I was like 28 and we were eating sushi, my heart closed. He wasn't like, oh my God, I can't imagine what you endured. And that was it.
Wow.
And, maybe when I finally left him, he might have tried to say it, but I don't remember some monumental time where we really had that exchange.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom didn't get that either, but at the end of the day, she didn't need it, and I'm sure you don't either, right? Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, listen, the only closure you really need is the work on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for you. Women sometimes don't know if they're settling or if they just can't recognize healthy love yet. So, my question is, how can a woman tell the difference between settling for safety or finally experiencing healthy love?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So here's the thing, right? The opposite of depression isn't happiness, it's vitality. It's when we feel alive. A lot of times we confuse drama with vitality. We think that when we're in a dramatic and erratic relationship, we feel alive. No, it's just drama. And so we want our relationship, of course, we want to be sexually attracted to our partner. We want to have shared values, shared interests. However, we've been sold this myth of romantic love that it just has to be this crazy, overwhelming, take you out of your body experience. And that's not sustainable and it's not real. We can have great sex with somebody. Doesn't mean they're going to be a good partner. And I think we're mistaking chemistry and someone who's a good partner. And, it's interesting with my daughter who's married, wonderful man, when she met her husband, she goes, Mom, she goes, I don't know. She goes, my relationship with him is kind of calm and even. Is it love? I said, oh, keep it, honey. It's love. And, now she's with him for a long time. They have 2 babies. So we want, of course, some chemistry in the beginning. We want to feel sexually attracted to somebody, yet we want a safe, calm, drama-free relationship. Because trust me, Life is going to throw enough shit. Parents die, people get sick, there's traumas, accidents happen. You need a partner who can be with you in it.
Yeah. I love the way you answered that. I think that's so groundbreaking. And I really feel, when I first got in the relationship, I called my mom a lot. And my mom is now in a very healthy, calm
Good.
marriage for a long time. And I called her a lot in the beginning. She was very concerned because I was like, I wasn't my normal self of like, oh my God, like he's just like, she
Right.
was just like, that's good. And she knows him for 15 years. But I want to talk about this more because I think I've noticed that a
Yeah.
lot of women, I'm 35, and I've noticed a lot of women my age are coming out of like the party, New York,
Yeah.
Miami, LA scene.
Right.
And we're used to this like certain level of like feeling alive.
Fast and Furious, sure. But
Right.
that's not sustainable. And it's just also, if you really want to build your life, like if you really want to build a life, like a good career, you can't have a drama filled life
Right. Yeah.
because work takes a lot of energy and concentration and focus and drive and grit. And
Yeah.
if you're constantly fighting with somebody who's cheating on you and lying
Yeah.
to you and gaslighting you, it's going to interfere with your own personal growth.
Totally. I love the chapter in the book where you talk about, and now what, like the healing from that. And I think yeah, I
Yes,
just
yes,
love that you have the community too, because you're right. Therapy is expensive. And I'm sure you have capacities of how many one-on-ones you're probably have a wait list at this point.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. And I only allow myself to do so many,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm one person and I have to have energy and self care.
Yeah.
So this allows me to help so many more people.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing. Did you notice like a huge influx after the movie came out of people really wanting to work with you even more?
Yeah, I think, as my social media presence has grown, people
Yeah.
just want to keep working with me.
Yeah.
And I answer everybody. If I can't work with them, I refer them out. But now we have the community, so they have a place to go.
I'm so excited. I definitely want to do a mention of talking about the community online and making sure women know it's a resource, because really the biggest barrier for people, just as a concierge from what I see, is, well,
Yeah,
I can't afford, I can't afford. And now there's really no
right,
barrier.
right. There's no barrier. That's why we do it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your light, and your purpose with the world. I really believe that's what we're all here to do, and you really embody it so beautifully.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell the people how they can work with you and where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah. Go to my website, drnae.com. Please go there. So many free resources. Trauma bond assessment, pathological assessment, lover assessment, worksheets. Also, you can join my healing community on there. You can get my book on there, and also see me on the Instagram, on the gram, the real Dr. Nadine. I'm always on there. We post every single day. Funny, educational, insightful. So yeah, just come by and
Yeah,
say hi.
it's so good. And of course, go grab Dr. Nae's book, Run Like Hell, or send it to someone that you think could benefit from it. It's really an incredible read. If you've lived it, if you know someone has, like, I could not recommend it more. So definitely grab it. I listened to the audio and it was really nice to hear your actual voice reading it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank
And for anyone listening, if you're looking for support, but you don't know where to begin, you're overwhelmed, that's what I do at Conscious Concierge. You tell me what's going on, and I help connect you to the right practitioner, therapist, doctor, coach, retreat that's aligned for you. You can find me at www.yourconsciousconcierge.com or on Instagram at yourconsciousconcierge.